Hello, my name is David Gollob. I'm a platform architect with Microsoft, and this is part 3 of spatial intelligence and reporting using the National Highway data set as well as the San Francisco 311 incident data set. And we continue with our business problem that the city manager of San Francisco has requested of us, and that is they want a report that will allow them to clean up 311 incidents within a certain buffer area around key roadways. So this is the data set that we put together within reporting services in session 2. And in session 3, we will convert this to a visual map. So let's begin. So the first thing that I will do, I'll go ahead and delete this table, and I will now insert a map using the map wizard. And as you know, our data set includes spatial data from SQL Server, so we will choose that option. And the data set that will surface the data for our 311 incidents is in the data set SF311 data. So we'll go ahead and choose that. You can see choose a data set with SQL Server spatial data. And we're first going to indicate there's 2 spatial data columns. Remember, there's the 311 incident, lat long, and then there is the road buffer that represents that polygon that we're drawing around the road segment. So we'll just indicate, for the first layer, we'll indicate the incident point, layer type point. And then we'll add a Bing Maps layer, the hybrid map, and then we'll just continue along here. We'll choose a bubble map, and then we're asked, what's the analytical data set? So this is a case where you might have your spatial data in one data set and then the analytical data in another data set. Analytical data might be some city metric. Maybe it's aggregating all of the 311 incidents, all of their hours, and then creating perhaps a heat map based on zip code for the city. Something like this. In our case, the analytical data is the data set that also has our spatial data. So we'll go ahead and choose SF311 data. By the way, if the analytical data set were a separate data set from the spatial data set, the dialog would eventually ask you, how would you like me to join these data sets? Again, in our case, the analytical data set and spatial data set are one and the same. So marching right along, we'll go ahead and use the theme, the ocean theme, and we'll indicate the color of the point to go from green to red. And for the data field, we're going to choose the sum duration in hours of the 311 incident. So green to red, red meaning it's been open a while, green meaning relatively speaking it's been open fewer hours. We'll click on finish. Let's go ahead and extend the map. Now we can run this. And in the example we were using, 200-meter road buffer and Geary Boulevard. Remember, we're using that long road segment. And for our business scenario, we're selecting all of the 311 incidents. If I click on View Report, and you now see those 311 incidents around 200-meter area around Geary Boulevard for that road segment. we're part of the way there. We'll go back to design. I'll click on the map. And you can see we have the Bing map tile layer and that point layer that we added through the wizard. I'm going to add polygon layer, and that will represent that buffer that we drew around that road segment of Geary Boulevard. And I need to associate it with some layer data. Over here, spatial field in a data set. And what's the data set name? It's that same SF311 data set. And the spatial field name, well, we already took care of incident point, so we're going to choose road buffer. And now we've added that polygon layer to our mapping layers. So let's go ahead and run it. And we'll choose Geary Boulevard. And then we'll choose all of the 311 types. And what are we going to see? So there you go. That certainly won't do. That's covering our 311 points. So let's go in and modify that polygon layer. I'm going to come up here to View, Properties, and I'll click on the polygon layer, and I'm going to come over here to the polygon template, and you can see where it says background color, no color, and then you can see where it has the border color of gray. Remember, we want that polygon line to kind of pop out, and the border width will be 2 points. Okay. So now that we've done that, I think the report will look a little closer to the original report that I rendered in the prior sessions, kind of the end game, if you will. So now, back to Geary Boulevard, and we choose that long road segment, the 1.36 mile long road segment. Again, all the 311 incidents. View the report. There we go. Now that's looking a lot more like the report that we're after. That's going to end up every Monday morning in the city manager's inbox. So back to design. There's still a few bells and whistles we wanted to add. How about that tooltip? The tooltip was very handy for hovering over each of those incidents and to get a little bit of data about what that incident is. So we come over here, I highlighted the point layer, we're going to the point template, and down here there's that tooltip, and the drop down, it's looking for an expression, and sure enough, I have the tooltip expression right here in Management Studio script, and you can see it's type equal, and then for the current field type, what's the value appended to semicolon hours, and then for the current field, which is what we're hovering over, the duration in hours, semicolon, and then the neighborhood. So we'll go ahead and paste that there. And you can look at the built-in fields, the parameters. It's all here for drag and drop, but we're just moving along. All right, and I think I'll go ahead and remove that map title. And then we're going to add a title to the report. And in the report title, we're going to show the 311 types that represent the parameters that we've passed in. So we can use this, this join function that is recognized by reporting services, and essentially it's saying for the multi-select list of the 311 types, for each of the items, separate them by a comma, and then we're going to use a string constant for those types within, and then we'll specify the buffer for that report that we passed in, near, and then we'll specify the roadway that we passed in as a report parameter. So we're just going to grab this. We're going to put it into our report title, and now we run the report 200 meter buffer, and Geary Boulevard 1.36 mile long road segment, all of the 311 types. Click on View Report, and there you go. Now we have our report, much like the original report. Of course, the title is probably a font that's a little excessive, so we can get down to maybe an 11-point font. Okay, so now I will publish this report to SharePoint. And we'll just go ahead and put it in our Documents folder. And we'll call it 311 Incidents YouTube. And save that off. Launch that. And now anybody that has access to this site can now execute this report that leverages the 311 data set as well as a couple spatial columns. And then they can subscribe to it and have this in their inbox, and then monitor the status of the 311 incidents. And they might even later choose, you know, I just want to start to monitor abandoned vehicles. So now I'll show a few other sample spatial reports. So here's a report that's a Bing map layer of San Francisco with all of the 311 types, and you can see that I've exhaustively included a number of report parameters that can be used to further hone in and look at the 311 incidents. I've even included the ability to pan and zoom on the report as a report parameter. It's also adjacent to a matrix where we can sort by neighborhood, by 311 type, by nature of request, by duration of the hours that a given 311 incident has been open. Here's another report that's using the California decedent Department of Health information, and we're looking at bubbles that show the total number of decedents by county, and then I've color-coded the counties based on the average educational level. And again, this is adjacent to a reporting services matrix that has some data bars that show average education level as well as decedent count, and that's also something that can be sorted on. And here's another report that looks at the LA mass transit public vehicle accident data, and in this case perhaps we just want to look at oily conditions that were reported, flooded conditions, and potholes at the time of the accident. Oily, flooded. And now we can see that from the indicator in reporting services, I can expand potholes. We can see that Crenshaw Boulevard has had 2 accidents reported in January. I can then click on Crenshaw Boulevard, and this will take me to a report that has a Bing Maps layer of LA County, and you can see Here are the 2 accidents that were reported on Crenshaw Boulevard. And you know what? Let's go ahead and choose all accidents that were reported on Crenshaw Boulevard and the different street conditions and apply. And here you can see some very interesting visualization. Look at the cluster of accidents that occurred in the bend in the road here on Crenshaw Boulevard. This is some of the richness that you can get with geospatial visualization and reporting services. Try to write a where clause that picks up this. So there's something there that perhaps needs to be investigated. We may not have understood that pattern of accidents without this kind of a geospatial report. So back to our potholes. And the final drill through report is another interesting way to look at beam map layers and reporting services. As I drill in, here I've actually mashed up Bing map layers as well as more of a tabular format. So here are the details of the accident, and then I have a 2,000-foot aerial view of the lat long where the accident occurred, and then a 250-foot view. What I can do maybe now is say, for Crenshaw, give me a full report that I might be able to print or export to PDF and send to the city manager in LA, and then begin to look at cleaning up these potholes or maybe these oily road conditions that were reported for each of the accidents. So accident details, and then a 2,000 and a 250-foot view. So some very interesting geospatial and mapping regions within reporting services, and hopefully this has really given you a lot of food for thought. Thank you.